Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Boost Your Biology podcast. Today we have a very special focus, and that is on an amino acid that, in my opinion, deserves a lot more attention. And that is because some of the effects that it has in the body when used in supplementation form is quite profound. So I really wanted to bring this to your attention today because there's a lot of unique benefits to taurine that I think not many people are really talking about. And of course, as you know me, I like to pioneer and put forward, cutting edge health content. So yeah, I look forward to sharing this episode with you, and yeah, really excited to present some pretty impressive research behind the amino acid taurine. So before we jump into this video or podcast, I just want to emphasize a little disclaimer that the information depicted in this presentation is purely for informational purposes only. Please consult your healthcare professional before making any changes to your lifestyle or routine. You should consult your physician about any interactions between medications you're taking and nutritional supplements. So what is taurine? So taurine is actually one of the most abundant amino acids that you've never heard of. It saturates in many tissues in the body, but in particular, it tends to concentrate in highly excitable nerve cells, so like nerves in our heart muscle. It can be synthesized from another essential amino acid, methionine, which you can find in meat and animal products, and then cysteine as well. But that requires the presence of vitamin B6. Its benefits are so broad and extensive that scientists have actually described taurine as a wonder molecule. So you can see on the right-hand side, taurine basically acts in the CNS, so the central nervous system, to reduce stroke, neurodegeneration, combat sort of epilepsy, retinal degeneration, so affecting the eyes because it accumulates in the eyes. We can see that it actually helps with cardiovascular health as well, metabolism, inflammation, and even muscle damage and muscle disorders as well. So what makes taurine so important? Taurine has a plethora of effects in the body, but this basically sums it up quite nicely. So essentially it helps with thermoregulation, so keeping the body temperature stable. It is anti-inflammatory, and that's through many pathways and mechanisms. It's neuromodulatory, so it helps to balance the excitatory and inhibitory neurotransmitters. It helps to actually keep calcium balanced in the body, because a lot of people actually have excess calcium in their bloodstream, which can lead to a wide variety of negative effects, because it can cause calcification in soft tissues. And so taurine acts similar to vitamin K2 in that regard by actually balancing calcium. It also stabilizes cell membranes. It's a potent antioxidant. It helps with detoxification, which every single person can benefit from today. It's also responsible for osmoregulation. So that basically means that it helps to balance electrolytes in the body. It reduces cholestasis, which is the backlog or buildup of bile as well. So first key benefit that I want to discuss, and that is that taurine is very effective at reducing anxiety. So I actually had a very close friend of mine, who I suggested he, take advantage of taurine supplementation. He basically, he went on 1.5 grams a day, twice a day, and he used to get like nervous tics. He used to get a little bit anxious socially. And within literally 2 or 3 days, he sent me a message, or he actually called me, and he's like, he just couldn't believe how quickly his, the nervous tics disappeared completely. And he felt socially much, much more stable. So you can see here in this diagram, basically taurine, it modulates gene expression and energy metabolism, particularly in the brain. And the other thing is that it actually counteracts the excitatory response. It combats stress in the brain, like the deleterious effects of stress. And also it lowers neuroinflammation. So that's obviously something that, a lot of people with both anxiety and depression will have issues with, is that neuroinflammatory response. So taurine has also been shown to be anti-diabetic, at least in rat studies. Basically, taurine is very well known to offset the, like with diabetes, we get an accumulation of sugar in the bloodstream, and the issues with that is that sugar in the blood is bad, because when in excess, it's bad because it can cause damage to organs. It can cause advanced glycation end products, which are like little bonds that form with protein and actually can destabilize cell membranes and can, lead to massive amounts of oxidative stress. So taurine has also been shown to increase the expression of caveolin 1 and GLP-1R, which basically means it helps the body release insulin. And that obviously insulin helps to lower the blood sugar. So with people that struggle with high blood sugar levels, they most likely have dysfunctional insulin secretion or sensitivity in peripheral tissues. So we can see that taurine basically helps the body utilize sugar, and it helps to promote glucose tolerance. So that's at least extremely promising from taurine. Taurine has been shown to also support heart health, which I mentioned before. And it does this through regulating fibrosis. It reduces oxidative stress in the heart. It reduces the vascular resistance, so how much resistance is put against the blood vessels themselves. And another mechanism is that taurine actually blocks sympathetic nerve activity. So the sympathetic nervous system activity, which is you got two branches of the autonomic nervous system, which is our rest and digest versus our fight and flight. Taurine has been shown to block or attenuate the rise in sympathetic nervous system activity, which is excellent for those who are always stressed and always on the go and just constantly burning the candle at both ends. So another unique proposition for taurine is that it actually helps the body, helps heal the liver. And of course, this is extremely important for anyone today, because no matter how hard you try, you're living on this planet and you are accumulating toxins through the air that you breathe, the receipts that you touch, the food you eat, the water you drink, So one promising aspect is that taurine helps to reduce liver cirrhosis, and that's partially through its ability to raise glutathione levels, and also helps to reduce ammonia. Now, ammonia is a byproduct of protein, and also builds up when you do exercise, like, strenuous, vigorous exercise. And obviously, that is a waste and a toxic metabolite. And so, when that builds up in the body, that can actually go from the liver to the brain and cause brain dysfunction, and basically impair cognition. And that's purely due to a body's own waste metabolite. And the benefit of taurine is that it basically blocks that buildup of that ammonia. So you get reduced ammonia buildup, and therefore less oxidative stress, and therefore less injury to the brain. And basically that means that you're less likely to suffer from ammonia related cognitive defects, which is really cool. Another unique pathway of taurine is that it activates autophagy. So autophagy is basically the process whereby the body mops up and cleans and eliminates harmful organelles, so basically cells that have been dysfunctional. And it basically helps the body achieve homeostasis. So activating autophagy just means that the body is better able to maintain equilibrium, like a balance in the body, by sweeping out and removing these dysfunctional metabolites and organelles from a genetic level. So it's promising to see that taurine activates this pathway, and so does exercise, and so does fasting, which is very positive for maintaining overall good health and longevity as well. So taurine protects against fluoride. Now, fluoride basically is a neurotoxin when it reaches a certain threshold, and that certain threshold is very, very easily achieved through drinking tap water. It depends obviously where you are in the world, but I can assure you that drinking Melbourne tap water, Australian tap water, is, loaded with fluoride. And taurine has been shown to block and attenuate the negative effects of fluoride exposure, which is very promising for helping with, preventing neurodegeneration and combating the oxidative stress that fluoride can cause. So that's really promising. So taurine also supports testosterone production in men. Now, this is really important because men, there's a reason why I designed an entire men's health masterclass based around this. And that is because that is purely because testosterone is on a major decline in the Western world and, in Western society. And the issue, there's many factors at play here, obviously, like stress, lack of sleep, and our environment and things like that. But at least we know that taurine can help to support testicular function, which is obviously the site at which testosterone is actually secreted from. And it plays a key role in recovering steroidogenesis and also spermatogenesis, which is the formation of new sperm. So that's a really positive feature of taurine, and it would likely have similar effects in women to support ovarian function, although I haven't delved into that research yet. So another unique feature of taurine is that it increases BDNF, so brain-derived neurotrophic factor. So this is basically it's a neurotrophin. So basically it's a signaling molecule in the brain that helps to increase the growth, survival, and differentiation of neuronal cells in the body. So what does that mean? Well, BDNF rises after sauna. BDNF also rises after meditating. BDNF also rises after exercise. So obviously you can tell that BDNF plays a crucial role in preserving cognition. And it's often low. It's often decreased in, people suffering from anxiety and depression. So one unique aspect of taurine is that through its ability to bind to GABA, it actually helps to release BDNF in the hippocampus, which is very crucial for memory preservation and also just general executive function. So, and what actually happens with antidepressants, like most antidepressants actually increased BDNF levels. And obviously stress is a known factor in depleting BDNF. So as you can see, BDNF is critical for overall brain health and longevity. And it's positive to see that taurine, a simple amino acid, can actually help boost BDNF levels. So taurine also reduces glutamate. Now, glutamate is the brain's primary excitatory neurotransmitter, and what that basically means is that glutamate it releases calcium. It basically helps to charge and signal long-term potentiation, which is like long-term memory formation. But glutamate is often imbalanced in most people, and a lot of people, when they suffer from stress and anxiety, they actually have excess glutamate. And excess glutamate can be, just think of it like it's like fire. Glutamate is needed for that spark and for that to get processes going in the brain and help to facilitate other neuronal pathways. But a lot of people have excess glutamate, and what that would present as is neuroticism, anxiety, overthinking, obsessive compulsive behaviors, rumination, things like that. And so taurine has actually been shown to shunt glutamate back towards GABA, which is, the primary inhibitory neurotransmitter, which I'll be exploring soon. So basically, strategies that we can put in place to lower glutamate excitotoxicity will be beneficial for longevity, because as you can see, that glutamate excitotoxicity, that's a long one, actually increases cellular swelling and edema, and it also causes cellular apoptosis, which is cell death. So definitely not something you want to be, you want elevated for a long time. Another unique feature of taurine is that it actually increases irisin levels. So this will be brand new to a lot of people, but irisin is basically regarded as a myokine, so muscle signaling molecule, which is involved in the browning of white adipose tissue, energy expenditure, and also glucose tolerance. So what this means is that irisin actually plays a role in having sort of anti-obesity properties and also anti-diabetic properties as well. And the other beneficial effect of irisin is that it actually increases energy expenditure, reduces body weight, and improves diet-induced insulin resistance. And part of its mechanism is that it induces something called PGC1 alpha. And this PGC1 alpha is actually affected by many herbs, like many other herbs. For example, berberine, I'm pretty sure that the drug metformin also targets this. And PGC1 alpha is actually induced in muscle cells by exercise. So what that means is PGC1 alpha is actually activated in the muscle by exercise. And this stimulates many of the best well-known beneficial effects of exercise, such as mitochondrial biogenesis, which is, mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell. So anything that promotes mitochondrial biogenesis is going to basically mean more ATP is produced per per muscle, which is beneficial for energy levels. The other thing is it actually increases angiogenesis, which is, the creation and formation of blood vessels. And it also helps with fiber type switching as well. Another unique feature of taurine is that it actually supports digestion. And that is because taurine is a component of bile acids. And basically bile, which I'll need to dedicate an entire podcast on, is critical for, breaking down fat. But not only that, it also plays a key role in thyroid function as well, and also immune-related disorders and things like that. So taurine is a pretty reliable amino acid to help with bile acid formation and production, and then also bile acid transport through the liver into the gallbladder and then into the small intestine to help the large intestine to actually help excrete wastes from the body. So that's a key feature of bile, is that it actually plays a unique role in, it's basically the body's own endogenous detoxification system. So anyone with constipation or diarrhea or floating stools, things like that, they are likely have issues with bile acid production, which is obviously bile is produced in the liver and it's secreted via the gallbladder. Another unique benefit of taurine is that it actually balances electrolytes. So this is critical for athletes. This is important for people with, compromised electrolyte status. So you can see in this diagram, well, the major intracellular electrolytes are potassium and magnesium, whereas on the extracellular, so outside the cell, is sodium and chloride. So you can see that. So basically, taurine helps the body, more the cells, maintain optimal balance between these electrolytes. So if you're overdoing it on magnesium or potassium or sodium, at least we know that taurine may be able to preserve and maintain that cellular membrane fluidity and balance. And we have another really cool effect of taurine, is that it actually increases exercise performance. This was a meta-analysis conducted by Mark Waldron and colleagues, and you can basically see that taurine ingestion improved overall endurance performance, and the dosage range that they used in this study was 1 to 6 grams per day, and that was only for 2 weeks, which is pretty impressive. That can translate to cycling performance, swimming, running, which is unique. Like there's not many supplements that can directly enhance endurance performance. Well, there are, but I haven't really spoken much about them, but I look forward to sharing them with you. So yeah, obviously that dosage range between 1 to 6 grams is considered probably, I'd say 6 grams is probably the max dose you'd want to have per day. So yeah. Next up, we have taurine actually increases oxytocin. This was pretty unique. I'm pretty surprised when I was surprised when I found this study. Although it is in rats, we don't have any evidence that it does in humans. But in saying that, I know so many people that feel much calmer on taurine, and it makes me wonder. I mean, I feel a lot calmer when I use taurine. And the thing is, oxytocin. Well, I mean, I'm going to dedicate an entire podcast to oxytocin, but this is a hormone produced when you receive affection from someone else, you know, or if you when you fall in love or when you hug someone else. So basically, if taurine's able to modulate oxytocin, that may translate to, you know, reduced anxiety, improved mood, helps with social bonding and social anxiety, which is really, really, really profound for an amino acid. So some dosages for taurine, apart from that that you know endurance exercise endurance study, you can see that, you know, dosage range between 1.5 to 3 grams per day is successful for 3 months. But just to give you a snapshot, so obviously taurine does occur naturally in food, mostly in seafood and meats, but the the amounts vary significantly. And so what you will notice is that obviously in like vegans and vegetarians, they actually have very small amounts of taurine intake. They're having up around 40 to 70 milligrams per day. So that can be problematic for that population, for that demographic. So in general, I like to hover around 1.5 to 3 grams per day, and I haven't noticed any tolerance or any sort of addiction or withdrawal. I've just felt like I feel better when I use taurine. It's probably one of my staple supplements. But again, having said that, I always advocate cycling supplements. I never, even I cycle something as safe as taurine. I still cycle because we just don't know whether or not it's still going to affect some other cascade or deplete some nutrient somewhere else or whatever. So that's just my approach. So that pretty much wraps it up. So yeah, thank you for listening into this episode of Boost Your Biology podcast. Hopefully you learned a lot about taurine, and the next time somebody says that, taurine is from, there's a myth going around saying, taurine's from bull's testicles, or it's made from that, you can laugh that off. So yeah, I guess ultimately what you need to know from today is that taurine has a wide variety of benefits, and just because it's found in Red Bull doesn't necessarily mean that it's unhealthy. So if you guys like this episode, please leave a review on iTunes and be sure to subscribe. I will be doing these podcasts, twice a month. So please show your support and help to spread the word. All right. Thanks everyone for listening in, and I'll see you again in the next episode.